everybody, today I want to talk to you about how to determine your maxes for your powerlifting programs. If you are new to powerlifting and you don't quite know what your max is, I'm going to provide you with links down below on how you can calculate them based on your rep range. So whatever it is that you can do for a maximum amount of reps. So for example, what's the maximum weight you can lift for 3 repetitions? So that means 3 up and down squats or 3 bench or 3 deadlift, and you could not possibly do any more. You're going to take that number and calculate it accordingly. Now, one thing I recommend is when you're using these calculators is to make sure that you're complying with the kilos and pounds, because there's a funny story, and I'm going to tell you because I just returned to Canada and I was in the gym the other day and I was benching, whatever, and there was a guy next to me and he was benching and it looked like he was benching a lot of weight and it was great. I can't tell you how much I love seeing people get strong in the gym. And someone came over to him and asked him what his bench was, and he said 170. And immediately I went, wow, you're so strong, you should consider being a power lifter. Now, gauging his size and his lift, it didn't hit me until later that he was actually talking about pounds, and I was thinking in kilos because I've just returned from Australia where everything is in kilos. Mind you, I didn't say anything then, and I don't feel embarrassed about it because I think at the end of the day, he feels great. And maybe it will get him into powerlifting, so I can take a little bit of credit for that. But just make sure you do that properly, and make sure you calculate your lifts. Now, also, if you are indeed a brand new, new to the world powerlifter beginner, I will always tell you and recommend to any client that you start light. Make sure your first set of maxes and training totals are based on something that's realistic. And I understand everyone's drive to want to become stronger, but ultimately you only want to become stronger the right way, and you don't want to get injured too soon. And you don't want to get injured too much, which will totally put a damper on you succeeding in becoming stronger altogether. When you're initially starting as a powerlifter, there's so many things that you don't understand, and I'm guilty of it too, where you just want to get ahead of yourself and you want to get strong really fast, where you lose sight of the biomechanics in movement and you lose sight of how you're really supposed to squat. How are you really supposed to bench? How are you really supposed to deadlift? Like, are you driving through the right muscles? Because sometimes we do big lifts with little muscles, and that's when we get injured. So start light, and then after your first cycle, once you've completed it, go and test out your maxes and record them. Watch them and make sure your form is proper. Now try and be objective about it because it is very important and it will affect your future in strength training. So whether you get into powerlifting programs for strength or power is totally up to you, but you want to make sure you're doing it properly. You're not doing, you're not lifting to impress anyone else, and you're doing it to feel better at the end of the day. So if you go and lift wrong because in your head you think, well, I can do this number, the next day you can't get up, that's going to affect you for the rest of your life. So start really light, stick to the program, don't jump ahead of yourself. And how should you make those increments? In the next program, I think ideally, not that there's a textbook way of doing this, but ideally you want to gauge and add about 2.5 kilos to 5 kilos a lift. Okay, and it depends on how you feel when you tested out your last max. So should you feel that it was a good lift, you could have done more, add 5 kilos, which is about 10, 11 pounds. And if you feel like it was a struggle, but you can, if you put your mind to it and you put your body to it and you dedicate yourself to it, add 2.5. My mind still sort of works in kilos, and I can't say enough how much I'm still sort of adjusting to being in Canada after returning from Australia. But I think, I kind of lost sight of my training because I was so busy converting from kilos to pounds that I was like, you know what, I'm just going to train in kilos because it works for me. And I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, right? A lift is a lift. So just, you know, start off really sort of easy. You don't need to like make your max something that you can do for 10 reps. Like that would be pretty ridiculous. Maybe something that you're trying to strive for when you do like 3. So let's say you go and test out your 3 at 100 pounds or 100 kilos or whatever, and it feels a little bit hard. You can sort of determine your max from there, okay? And then after that, add 2.5 kilos to 5 kilos per lift. So something like bench, you're not going to be able to add, you know, a gigantic amount. And know that even a 1 kilo increase in your lift is a lot. Like when I went to deadlift, the last I deadlifted heavy, I was deadlifting 102.5 kilos at 46 kilos, and I went to add like another 2 kilos to the bar, and it was like the plates were super glued to the ground. It's unbelievable how much a little bit of weight can affect your maxes. So keep those numbers realistic and make your increments accordingly, and be sure to, number 1, test your maxes after you've completed your program, and number 2, take some time to deload. Let your body relax a little bit, let your muscles kind of just chill out before you jump into another program. If you've been in the sport for a long time, I mean, you don't even need to worry about what I'm saying, because a lot of people have found their way of doing things. They found the right program, they found, you know, the right way of training, the right time, whatever. But when you're beginning, any advice is good advice. So take it, try and work with it and see how you go. And through my experience, I can also stress that mobility is important, but I'm going to leave that for another video because I want to make these as short as possible and as informative as possible. No, strength is always good, so think strong thoughts, and I will see you later. Bye!